Of the lawlessness, that should pull us closer and closer together. And that's what they're afraid of. And you all remember me from, we talked at that actual Capitol, I keep saying, the minister said, our unity is more stronger than the atomic bomb.
We have Dr. Laura Pressley of Pure Rain, LLC. She is the owner. We have Richard Franklin, President of Youth Unlimited. We have DJ Crash. He is of the band Dirty Worms. And we have Dr. Valerie, Agee, and she is Human Services Board Certified Practitioner.
Greeting everybody in the greeting words of peace, about salam alaikum. And I will say this, that the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, Justice or Else, of course, I am a part of that, being a member of the Nation of Islam for nearly 25 years. But what we want to show to the world is what justice looks like. We are not as concerned with the government interceding on our behalf, because history has shown that that may never happen if the people don't stand up and take their destiny into their own hands. But we want to let the people know that justice does not look like naming a street after our heroes and our sheroes after they're dead and gone. Justice does not look like naming a landmark after our heroes and sheroes after they are dead and gone. Without justice, these things are just symbols without substance. And so we want to make it very clear and paint a very clear picture of what justice actually looks like. And the most important thing, I would say, is the freeing of the minds of the masses of the people. Jesus said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. He also said, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Obviously, this being the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, Justice or Else, we are still talking about justice. We are not yet free, which means that what we have perceived as the truth is not, in fact, the truth, because we are not yet free, or the scriptures is not truthful, and we, in fact, believe that it is truthful. So the idea is that everybody gets a clear picture of what justice looks like, and then we can chart out a path to actually obtain this justice.
Dirty Worms, and we are here tonight. Thank y'all for coming. Thank y'all for having me here. I guess when it comes to justice or else, that's exactly what it means to me, as far as, you know, us having equal of any and everything, especially education, because I believe that when you deteriorate a mind, or you let somebody know that they were never great, or their ancestors were never great, or they were nothing ever, then you will always be the same thing, what they're trying to put you on that path to be. So that's how I feel about that. But anyway, well, there's a lot of us who got a lot of stuff to say. Everybody knew Public Enemy, right? Yeah. Everybody knew X-Clan, right? But where are they at now? They're underground. And the ones that are talking about all this crap that that we don't need to hear is in the forefront, in the limelight. So therefore, that's a mentality deterioration right then and there. You know what I mean? We are not thugs. We're not this. We are not that. We're not trying to be these labels. I mean, of course, a lot of our music is hard, but we don't act upon that for real. When we talking about killing on the mic, it's a battle mode. It's not about an actual physical battle. We talk about mentally. You heard of Rakim before, right? He was one of the best lyricists ever. But when he talked about killing a person, it wasn't physically. It was about a mind battle. You know what I mean? So therefore, we just got to enlighten the minds of what we need to do to step forward as musicians. And since we, as the minister is going for the musicians now, because that's what they listen to now. You know what I mean? The most fierce crowd right there is the audience who listens to musicians. So I won't expound on that too much, but what concerns me here in Austin is the heritage facilitation. I mean gentrification. You know, our grandparents who are dead and gone, they were never able to leave us nothing. And so now, as you see right now, it's a takeover. So where once, you know, we had our heritage as being taken over by some kind of commercial facility or some college facility, somebody's got a 5-year plan to tear it down. And so if we don't know how to learn how to build for ourselves and do for ourselves, then they're just going to take it away from us. So that's my concern about that.
For Pressley, and I have a small business here in Austin, and I got my PhD in chemistry as a single mom, gosh, so many years ago in the 80s. And I'm just so grateful to be here. I just want to say thank you for your time and your open-mindedness and creativity that you bring into this room. And, you know, I want to say that every single one of us here are created in the image of the Master Creator, whoever that is for you. And we're all angels on this earth. And that's who we are. And I think a lot of the culture that we're in right now tries to diminish that, tries to diminish who we are, the absolute power that we have. And I'm, for one, not going to stand for it. So, you know, my history is I'm a sexual assault survivor, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. And I grew up in a family that was illiterate, and a family that was just reeked of sexual assault and domestic violence, and that was where I came from. But that's not where I had to go. And it was my choice not to go back there.
I'm going to Washington D.C. with some like-minded individuals. People who are thinking about the future, thinking about lifting each other up, like-minded brothers, as I look them in the face and see if we can't collectively think our way out of the morass that we have locked ourselves into and been lied to about. I'm just tired. I'm sick and tired, and I want to be around people who can think. I've been in this town for 15 years, and it has hurt a lot. I'm telling you right now, I have gone in corners and cried about what I've seen being done to us, and it's people who look like me that have allowed it to happen. And they've been paid to make it happen. They've been told to do things and then smile at us and say, you know, tell them it's okay. So I'm going to Washington in the hopes of walking out of there with some like-minded people to start a financial plan. I'm hoping we can start some banks. I'm hoping we can get some people there that can say, look, we need to start our own places and do our own businesses and things together. Because if we're not doing this together, we're not going to do it at all.
I don't really need the mic. My name is Sean Gooden. Good evening. Fellow audience members and to the panel. Esteemed Brother Franklin so eloquently expressed. I'm pissed off. I'm very upset about the state of our community. Not just what's happening from an external standpoint, what's being done to us, but also what we're doing to ourselves. That is, how we are not being stewards of our own destiny. We're all born with the brain to direct ourselves to whatever intent and desire we choose. My question for you is this. With everything that we have to do, and it has to be a concerted effort, how we move each other forward, not just in this generation, but generations well beyond our children's children's children, to make sure that we are financially set to take care of ourselves as a community. That's my question.
Honored to open up with Curtis Blow one time. And, you know, he was one of the pioneers of the hip-hop rap game. That's what you see today in 78. And we asked him a question one day, what was the state of hip hop and how do you like it? And before I can think, listen to him, in my mind, I'm thinking he's gonna talk about how downtrodden it is, how bad it is, how it's changed and it ain't real no more, out of this, out of that. He answers me and says, well, he answered us, he said he loves it because one rapper can employ 100 men. And the key word he said to me was feed families.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, when one rapper can make it and hire 100 people, 100 his homies or whatever, all the neighborhood to go out on tour and he's feeding families. So therefore, now when you're feeding families is where you're spending your money. So therefore, you don't go and just buy a bunch of Jordans and buy a bunch of cars and buy a bunch of this. That's our problem now. So therefore, if we just facilitate ourselves, by opening up whatever we need to take care of ourselves in the community, then we will always keep our dollars in the community. And of course, that's far-fetched for what the plan could be, but that's what we need to do. If we need to just start businesses right here in our community, then that's what we need to do. We need to start our own banks. We need to start our own financial facilities to keep our money in our areas because they just march our money out every year.
But here's a sign in what our unity can do financially. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that prior to Martin Luther King's death, or the day after he passed, he had notes on his nightstand. And he was talking about the boycotting of Christmas, right? Now, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said he wanted to finish that for our brother. So, one of the things that we're going to do, leaving after 10-10, 15, 10, 11, 15, 10, 12, 15, and moving forward, is we're going to begin boycotting Christmas. The reason the Montgomery bus boycott worked is because they boycotted for a year. Now, I'm not going to ask how many of us in here are willing to boycott Jordan for a year because we might have to call the fire marshal. However, corporations like Amazon understands what our unity means because after the Honorable Louis Farrakhan made the case for boycotting Christmas, they began to have early Black Friday sales. So they believe in the unity of the black dollar. But the problem is we unite the black dollar to spend elsewhere. Another corporation, Walmart. And I'm telling you, you may say it's a coincidence, but corporations and corporate interests, they do studies, they collect data, and they see this man that's 82 years old, has toured the country, he has hit 25 cities in nearly 2 months, and he's doing 3 to 4 speeches every stop, and he's 82 years young, I should say. But the people are responding to the voice of truth, as the young lady said, that it's interesting when truth enters the room, right? So Walmart is now saying we're going to have early Black Friday sales because they know what happened last year when Mike Brown was murdered, and they know what happened when we boycotted, and we just had an inkling of unity to boycott. But guess what? If nearly 2 million men came out in 1995, and 2 to 3 to 4 million black, brown, and white come out, and they listen to this man's word, and we say we're going to boycott unless you give us justice, and this is the part of or else that we will contribute to. They understand the value of the dollar, but we have yet to understand the value of our dollar. The Mexican understands the value of our dollar, or their dollar, the Latino community, but we have to continue to educate, brother. And I know that's where you're going because you got truckloads of information where you can help to educate our communities. And so, but the one big thing we got to get into is land ownership. We're not talking about purchasing land. When we open the scripture that we read called Bible, when Adam was made, he was put into a garden, and he was able to obtain everything he needed from his survival in that garden. We're talking about land ownership. All of the major prophets owned land, and they were not poor. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but I just want to speak in that direction. So.
We're talking about creating an area of a complex where it's a promise zone. You can look that up, by the way. Look up promise zones, where we control the education, entertainment, and technology, because they're all the same thing. Those are your music beats, by the way. You talk to me when we finish this thing. Because we need to make the content. We got to create. We got to be producers, and we got to be able to sell our content outside of ourselves. Because although we control $1.3 billion, $3 trillion, even though we keep that money within ourselves, there's also that outside market that we've got to bring in some new dollars, because that's where they get their money from. We've got to have a way of getting money outside of ourselves. We're also taxpayers. The reality is the African American population makes no demands on the government. They killed Martin as soon as he started making demands about money. He was good as long as he was talking about social justice. We'll talk about that for a long time. But when you ask to reach in my back pocket and take $1, now you're going to make me holler. That's a problem for me.
Because we buy from Walmart and Target. Look at the label on your clothes. Look at the whatever you buy, and if it's made in China. The jobs have gone over there, and we are allowing it. We are allowing it. It's very hard to not buy from China. My husband and I have been doing it for 2 years. We buy at Goodwill. We buy on eBay. We buy used stuff. We will not buy clothes or anything from China, period. I want to challenge you to do that. We can take back our country and our jobs if we committed and boycotted that. The other thing about money is consumerism is very powerful. We are told by brands what we want. Imagine if what we wanted, and we spent our money on clean food, clean water. Who in here who's African American loves the taste of tap water? Anybody? It tastes terrible. Trust your body. It's not healthy. If you have resources, you should spend it on clean food and clean water. That cleanses your brain and your soul. And then the third thing to spend it on is education. Forget the consumerism. Put it into yourself. We are victims, this victim consciousness of allowing brands and advertising to tell us what we want. Right. We have control. We have personal responsibility in that. And when you take it back, it's amazingly powerful. I think the next thing is buy property. When you have got your stuff, your finances in place, and you're not wasting it on consumerism, products from China that we don't need, we can save our money and buy property. So this is kind of coming from a mother. Actually, I'm a grandmother. You're so sweet to call me a young lady. You're so sweet. But I have a grandbaby 2 years old. But this is a system that we're in, and it dictates and it tells us what we want instead of us take back that control. So thank you.
Education. My kids, they're in school, and it seems like every year it's less and less Black history in the books. My question would be, how do we get our Black history back in the books? I mean, it seems like that's not even taught anymore. I have to self-educate my kids at home. Me and my wife, we do this on a daily basis. We're pulling up videos, we're putting out Frederick Douglass, we're doing all of that. And I think it should be an even slate all.
The word receiving was not Black history, it was slave history. Our history didn't begin when the soles of our ancestors' feet touched this 6 million square mile nation. We have a vast history that began with the Creator himself. And so your question is, how do we get it back into the history books? Well, I would say to a certain degree, it's good that that aspect of history is being taken out, because that was to perpetuate a certain mindset and a certain posture for Black people to operate by. But I'll say this, that we all are responsible We are a community. We are a village. It is our responsibility to put together programs and support programs that will unearth the history of the original man and woman, and that's you, and that's me. And that we share that history with our children, because what happens is that it expands the realm of possibility. Just for instance, nobody get mad at me. There's a person, maybe you heard of him, one of the most important people in history, in theology, and in religion, named Jesus. Yeah. It was reported in Scripture that an angel came to his mother and his earthly father, Joseph, and told them to go and run and hide him in Egypt. Well, the former name of Egypt is Kemet. And the definition is the land of burnt-skinned people, of dark-skinned people. Now, if in fact this man that we see on the wall of the cathedrals is white, how can he hide among the land of dark and burnt-skinned people? If you've ever been to the military, or if you've ever been in hip-hop when we was wearing camouflage all the time, it is a science that in order to camouflage, you got to look like your environment. So when the military goes in a snowy area, they wear white camouflage. When they go to areas that are where the terrain is forest-like, they wear green camouflage. When they go to the desert, they wear beige. So if in fact this great one, the one the whole world talks about, Jesus, is, we've been painted a picture of a Caucasian, which the scripture said that he went to Egypt to hide. So if he were white, then he couldn't have very well fit in the land of burnt-skinned people if he were white. Now, if he were white, that wouldn't make a difference to us, because we've been thinking that all along anyway. But what it does for the little black boy, what it does for the little black girl in America, where every day the entire environment is giving us a picture of someone that should be inferior, what it does is it expands the realm of possibility, because we can look back at the greatest servant and say, if he could heal the sick, if he could raise the dead, if he could make the blind see, then surely I can do the same thing.
San Antonio local organizing committee for going to the Justice or Else March. And my question is, well, basically the statement is slavery never ended. And with we have the highest incarceration in the world. And so I want to ask, basically, I mean, people are making artisan cheese for Whole Foods, right? So, I mean, you know, if slavery ended unless you're a criminal. So basically, all of these prisons, these private prisons, are making stuff and selling it, and they're getting, that's the cheap labor right there. They own the production, means of production, and they get the profits. So how does the war on drugs and police brutality come into play with locking people up in order to basically make stuff for cheap?
50. We've had more black men under the correctional control. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're incarcerated. It means that either they're on probation and or parole, but they're under some type of correctional control. The majority of our African American men, and I'll have to say women as well, are incarcerated due to non-violent crimes. And so a lot of the sentencing penalties, some of the sentencing laws are not, when we talk about equal, they're not equal. When we think about some of those individuals that have made those laws, or that are part of the laws that are being made, we have to look at who they were, you know, what color they were, because they were there for that disenfranchisement for our African American men and women. So when we keep them in prison, then we don't have to worry about them out in the community making money the right way, taking care of their families the way they should, being healthy the way they should, because we keep them at that slave mentality, because we keep them under some type of correctional control. What we have to do, you know, as a community, as a nation, is we have to go back there to Congress, and we have to stand, we have to fight for to eliminate some of those racial injustices when it comes to education, when it comes to incarceration, when it comes to employment, but it takes us in order to do that. Oddly enough, we have approximately 59 million individuals that have felony convictions that are not able to vote. So that's how they keep us disenfranchised. That's how things are not equal. Because although the majority of us in this room have the right to vote, we don't. But those that are incarcerated, many states have made it a mandatory law that once you have a felony, you're not able to vote. Some of those have been lenient enough to allow them to vote, but you think about 57 million individuals that have felonies that cannot vote. So that voting right has a lot to do with the incarceration, with the unemployment, with all of the different, inequalities here, in the U.S. So as long as we keep them at that slave mentality, then we're never going to do anything.